just brought PGB.
A very good evening and welcome this edition of the Fourth Estate. Charles Mwangu Shampage. And tonight, as we continue the debate on the state of our security, President Yoweri Museveni shakes up the two major security institutions in the country that have been in the news over alleged bickering as insecurity has continued, killings, kidnaps, and stuff like that. President Yoweri Museveni this evening announced a shuffle that dropped Security Minister Henry Tumukunde, replacing him with Eli Tumwine, and also dropped Inspector General of Police Kayihura, replacing him with Okoth Ochola and Sabiti Muzei. What does this mean? How does it fit into the current discussion? Will it change anything? Is the discussion we'll be having tonight. But before we go into that, 2 Sundays ago, the other Sunday actually, we hosted in the studio Teddy Sezicheye, editor and publisher of the Uganda Confidential. Last Thursday, Teddy Sezicheye was apparently knocked by a border in Akawa. Nobody actually knows for sure whether he was knocked by a border, but that's the story that we have. He died on Thursday evening and has been laid to rest this afternoon in Luwero. To discuss the death of Cheye and the changes in the security leadership, I have with me in studio Wafula Ogutu. Some people used to call him Pilipo Wafula Ogutu.
My mother calls me that.
Calls you Pilipo Wafula Ogutu.
Yeah.
Former member of parliament, former leader of opposition in parliament, founder of Monitor Publications, which now has grown to include KFM Radio and Dembe, now part of the larger East African group, the Nation Media Group. Mr. Wafula Ogutu, very nice to have you on there.
Yeah, thank you very much, Charles. Good evening, viewers. And you are. I don't know how you managed to bring me back to the media.
Yes, you've been avoiding us for a long time.
I've been, yes. Yeah. But I think it's because of Che that you convinced me to come.
I know how to find you.
Yeah,
you're my former boss, so I know how to find you.
Thank you very
when
much.
I need you.
Yeah.
Yes. And we also have David Bwangamoy Purkol, former Director General of the External Security Organization, former Member of Parliament, and former Minister. Mr. Purkol, very nice to have you.
Good evening, viewers. Thank you very much. And thanks for finding WAF, as we always used to call you. WAF.
And of course, we have Onapito Ekomloid. He's Corporate and Legal Affairs Director of Nile Breweries AB InBev and a member of the Fourth Estate. Ona, always a pleasure to have share a table with you.
My boss and former bosses, General. In other words.
Oh, this one was also your boss.
Of course, he worked at State House.
Oh, yeah, of course, I'd forgotten that.
Yes. Well, let's start with the death of Cheye.
Yes.
It was extremely saddening, especially on this show. We'd hosted him quite a few times since he came out of jail. And personally, I remember that around 2008, before he was sent to prison, he had been a guest on a show I was hosting on KFM with Andrew Mwenda. And that is one show that never ended because the discussion became extremely heated.
Yeah.
It was it was cut off.
Yeah.
And then he came back. Yesterday was exactly 1 year since he got out of
jail.
Yeah. Yes. What memories? You founded the Monitor together, somewhat.
Yes, we did. Yes. We've been together for I think since 1987. Since I first met him at Brange, and we worked together. We used to have discussions. We used to go dancing together with our wives. We founded the Monitor together. We used to edit for him, the Confidential. Yes, and give advice to him. We did a lot of things together, and he was a very interesting person, very determined person, very passionate about investigative journalism and about knowledge, especially about economics. He was very, very passionate. Because you know, Che is not one person who went to those schools you went, Budos or UR or big schools. He didn't. But he read and read and read and everything. He read and he's died with a lot of knowledge in his head.
Yeah, he ended up at the London School of Economics.
And yes, and he ended up at the London School of Economics. When he came from prison, I went to see him at home and we just talked about books. And he brought this book and that book, and that his sitting room is full of books. And then the books he had written. He also brought those manuscripts to me to see this book, this book, this book. A very interesting gentleman. Sadly, he's now gone, and he gone with a lot of knowledge. A very good thing that he wrote about it. But I just came from the burial, and I was a bit sad that Ugandan journalists haven't honored him. They shunned him. They didn't go to bury him. They seem to have judged him harshly, that he was corrupt, that he was in prison. But Che did not steal government money. He did not. He got money on the order of Museveni, given by Jim Mwezi, and he went to school. He paid fees for his executive MBA. He did. He didn't steal the money. And because he had asked the president for money, he asked for money, the president didn't have the money, they gave him. And he didn't, of course, think that since they gave him, that he was going to account for it the way he did. So I think he been harshly judged by the public and by the journalists particularly. I think journalists should be doing some bit of investigation and talking to people before they judge people. And so I was disappointed that our media people have not honored Che. But Che was the crusading journalist for us. Che touched those who could not be had not been touched before. He really did a lot of investigative journalism. He pushed our media into a more bolder area where everybody is, everybody is scared of the media. But that he's just, you know, think he's a bad person. He's actually I saw the social media people saying, Waffle, how could you go and talk nice thing about Che? Yes, he was my friend. Actually, he was my best man, and he was my colleague. And when I went to see him and we talked, and he convinced me that he did no wrong. He was set up, according to him, because if he had been told it's a loan, barabala, he would have paid. And he even told me some of the money, some of it he spent it, he paid it, some he spent it on some other assignment which the prison had given him. And then, most important, he became saved in prison. And he said he forgave everybody, including those who caused him to go to jail. And he asked people to forgive him as well, so that he begins life from prison on a clean slate. But people have not forgiven him. Okay, many people went to bury him who are not journalists, who are not the big people. There were just few of us, the big people from Kampala. But ordinary, humble people, thousands of them came to bury him. I was happy about that for him. But Che, rest in eternal peace. He was a great guy.
David, you were meant to be on a show in the studio on Thursday when the news of Daye's death came through, and you rushed straight to his home because you also had a relationship with him. I know you were there on Thursday, you were there again on Friday. We were together yesterday at church during the funeral service. And when I went to his home, where the vigil was being held on Friday, I was told that you had been almost camped there all the time. What do you remember? What do you think? Because when Waf spoke yesterday at the funeral service, he said an investigation is necessary on the death of Che, on the killing of Che, because he didn't die voluntarily.
Yes.
I remember yesterday that Dr. Rutagi echoed the same sentiments as did Captain Gad Gasatura. They asked, and I think the family has been asking, there are a lot of unanswered questions. I had a long chat with the daughter, Laura on Friday, and she was saying things don't seem to connect very well. But for a former spy chief, Che was Director of Economic Monitoring at the Internal Security Organization. During his earlier time as a journalist, he'd stepped on so many toes. Is there justification for the suspicions that arise around his death?
I think generally, talking about journalism, talks about Uganda under Museveni and the liberal media and the official policy that we're a free country. I think Che stands out very tall in terms of those who are part of, you can say, a movement for political accountability. Those who press for that only God we trust, but everyone else must be held to account. And I happen to fall in that, whether in parliament or parliamentary scorecard or anything, or most of my talk, whether you in parliament or security or something like that, people should not just get away with it. We are all accountable to, if not to our citizens, then we will definitely be held accountable to God, because God is the one who has created us. God has created these ordinary citizens who will not even become ministers. They will not become chief of external security. They will not become directors. But for those of us who have been given these positions, including presidency, then we must really be made to account to our citizens, because citizens have entrusted. This is delegated power from citizens. So must be held accountable. So therefore, those who investigate and who put pen on paper and expose, I think should need to be held in high esteem. But of course, there are those who don't want that. They don't even care what parliament we have, so long as they wake up to vote. They don't even care whether you steal the money, so long as you invest it in Uganda, stolen money, and so forth. So I think Che has distinguished himself. And then there's journalists also who are paid money and to kill stories. Okay, I have been in external security. I have been what, and so you know what people do. What you know how we brought you as editors for a luncheon with us to say, look,
in
the information we are, and say, look, you're doing a lot of censorship, and rightly so that what you put there, it must be impeccable. I don't know whether you were there for the crusade at that time, but definitely he knows the editors, and so that the kind of information we have could be what you are looking for public media. We don't have anything much to do with it as a security. But the information we're looking for to connect the dots, maybe you people have at the senior level. So it was not about, and that all of us believe in this country, and it must be stable, it must be secure. So Che was one of those journalists, because even for me, if I'm in the area of security, and we are going against Konyi, against ADF, against those who are throwing bombs in town, and then some people, again, within our government are stealing money which should go for drugs for citizens, like Gavi and all that kind of thing. So you ask yourself, these ones are using unconstitutional means to upset a constitutional order, just like Konyi was also using unconstitutional means to unset a constitutional order. So that, for me, they are the same. Yeah. So if you are avoiding a coup, so whether you're a minister, whether a president has sanctioned it or what, it must be exposed. So Che was in that category that could not allow. But anyway, I had a personal relationship, a friendship relationship with him, and so is my family. Our children studied together. We got to know each other, and after he came from prison, he was such a saved Christian. So we had moments to pray together, to share together. I belong to that community of Christians who are trying to prepare our personal relationship with God and build on that relationship, and so that whatever we do for mankind should flow first from our love for God, and therefore obeying His instructions and so forth. So it's very important that people know that Che in prison accepted Jesus as his Lord and Savior, and I've had moments. God was so gracious to give him 1 full year with his family, and into a new house, and therefore celebrate birthdays, Christmas, and so forth with his children, with his family. He was a fine man. Even the Friday before he died on Thursday, but that Friday night I was with him for 1.5 hours in his house. And what I remember most, which really disturbs me, is he insisted I come in. I'd gone to pick my daughter. But then when I went in, we stayed for 1.5 hours. But what disturbs me was the long wave he gave me as I was going, because his daughter then had to negotiate my car to get out. And so when I left, he kept waving. Even when I looked back, still, he was still waving, whether he was communicating something. But from the security angle, honestly, Che's death is one of those unexplained deaths that have occurred in Uganda, and also which is not acceptable. It's like the story where some person, a terrorist, takes hostage the late Mutagamba and J.J. Odong, if you remember, from the
of lands,
opposite
Parliament.
Opposite Parliament.
up to now, although Muhoozi, the son, general, walked up the steps and therefore is the one who diffused the situation and that
rescued the trapped.
Rescued
was
the
actually
minister.
not, no, the minister wasn't in. It was the secretary to the minister and I think a personal assistant. The minister had already crossed
about
to,
J.J. Odong.
Yeah,
So anyway, the story, the news story that came in.
Yes.
But Paka tomorrow, did you see that terrorists arraigned in court?
There were some young people who were arrested.
And then where were they taken? So now it's one of those unexplained myths that happen. And when you involve a senior person now in SFC. So again, when you, about Mbuya attack, it's another unexplained mystery. Okay, Tinyefuza said it was a hoax. Then the Opolot of Media Center shouted on him. Then we do what on him, and then they said it was thugs, and then the story changed. It was LRA. Can you imagine? So there are these unexplained things that LRA attacked him.
David, you're getting us lost.
No, but I want to get you that it's one of those unexplained mysteries or deaths, which is totally unacceptable. We also need investigations on those.
Okay,
like, for example, 3 young men were arraigned before a court martial. Paka tomorrow, you have not heard again before Tolit. Have you heard those 3? Are they LRA?
Related to what?
To Mbuya attack. So then Tinyefuza wrote that missive and had to flee.
How does this relate with
the unexplained deaths?
Yes.
Like, for example, if you say that there's a border, except at 4 p.m. in that busy Nakawa area. Was the border running at 100 miles per hour or 40 miles per hour? And if it is 40 miles per hour, it hits you on the legs. How does it hit you to a point where some blood is oozing from your ears? How do you explain this?
Because you fall.
Listen, Chief, and you're not, how big is the impact? And you know how this brain of ours is protected, the way God created it. You know even what protects your brain. By the time you have bleeding from the ears, you can have a blood clot.
So what's your suspicion?
So my suspicion is he must have been hit beyond just this border. First, then you say border. Now, other borders would have run after that border and bring him to account to take the patient to the hospital. That's what happens in other places. Yes. A place beaming with people there, and then he disappears, nobody knows where he is. Totally unacceptable. You can't connect this.
Yeah, I
think I am one of those who's also calling for investigations.
Okay, thank you.
Because it doesn't add up.
Thank you.
It doesn't add up.
Ona, you shared this same table with Cheye. Not once, not twice since he came out of prison.
That's the most tragic bit of it. I was actually his immediate neighbor on the show, so it's so fresh. You can almost visualize him sitting next and the voice and everything. He was right here with us. So it really brings the mystery of life, the fleetingness of life to the fore. But I think at the end of the day, the veterans of interaction with him have said it. We are young journalists by the time he and WAF started the Monitor and Confidential, but we got into their steps, so to say. In fact, his journalism was kind of what gave birth to our name, the Crusader, the crusading type, always wanting to go for a cause. Of course, I'm not surprised that there is mystery around his death, because his own life had its own controversies, and certainly was no ordinary Ugandan. So for Cheye to be knocked by Boda, at his age it was nice to walk, you know. Or for most people it's nice to walk. Of course it's a hazard to walk in Kampala because the sides of the roads are rough, there are potholes, there are what. But it was the right thing to be doing. Some people may say, why was he walking? He should be in a car. But health-wise, it's good to walk. And if he was walking just for even maybe lack of a car, it was a blessing in disguise. That he gets knocked and everyone thinks it's an accident. We all know that in Africa, when people don't die, they get killed, largely through witchcraft. And even in modern criminal investigation, every death is suspicious.
Yes.
And when you watch most of these crime series, actually what looks like an innocent death ends up being a murder. So there is every reason to believe that Ebola could have been set up, not necessarily by the state. It could even be personal thing between somebody. I mean, he was in jail. He must he came out of jail. So there's a whole cocktail of things that could have happened. Maybe somebody thought he would remain in jail forever, and he has come out, he's now a threat to that person. So there's every reason to investigate his death to the logical conclusion. And I would be shocked.
Do you think that will happen?
Unfortunately, we have that tendency to believe that, okay, if it was knocked by Boda Boda, what else is there to investigate? One may argue a lot of people get knocked by Boda Boda, so it's just that it's Cheye, must we go and do a lot of work when people get knocked.
We will try to create a link between the death of Cheye and the discussion we're going to have, because it's coming during a wave of a lot of insecurity, a lot of killings that go unexplained, a lot of death rather that go unexplained, and incidents like this, the death of Cheye. Major changes within the security circles just announced this evening. We know, and we have discussed in this studio, that there's been a lot of bickering, especially between General Tumukunde and General Kayihura. The appointments themselves, the appointments themselves of Tumukunde to head security, when Kayihura was heading police, created a lot of debate on what kind of relationship they'll be having. But Tumukunde also made some interesting comments during a burial in Rukunjiri in praise of Dr. Kiza Besigye. We'll be discussing that after a very short commercial break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to this edition of the Fourth Estate. And I just forgot to say, may Cheye's soul rest in eternal peace. And like Waf said,
but before we move to security, I wanted to react to Waf's feeling that Cheye was being rejected by the media. I'm least surprised if at all the media rejected him at his moment of need. And I don't think it's just the media.
They were not in burial.
There is a tendency in our society for people to want to associate with you when you are successful and when you have something, unfortunately. A lot of people get ignored when they fall out of fortune. When people are in fortune, that's when people want to hang around you. It's a sad reality.
That's a new reality in the Museveni era.
Not just in fact, a Kenyan wrote recently, I saw in the social media, the same phenomenon is also in Kenya. It's call it a modern trend, but it's not part of our culture. People tend to like those who have, who can give.
And they praise thieves.
Waf made a comment to me yesterday in church, and he said, if Cheye had died before that prison stint, this church would have been full of very important people. But the truth is, not just the media. We could scan the entire church to find who was present and who was not present. The corner where you and I sat, then the middle one, which had...
that's where I sat.
Where you sat, and then you had Dr. The doctor who spoke, Dr. Rutagi.
Rutagi, yes.
Dr. Rutagi. Yes. And then you jump to find where Ruzindana was sat. Yes. You could just look through and say, wait a minute, where did all the people that knew Cheye or Cheye knew go, especially people I'd worked with in security and in government? Because he was a journalist, but who was also very deep into the NRM government. So did all those just melt away? But anyway.
That's the hypocrisy of our time. And I say hypocrisy because then, and also the fear of these days that has gripped people, that if you are associated with people who are critical of government, or you may lose your job, you may lose your work. And yet in the beginning, objective criticism was never confused with subversion. So that shows you how far NRM has come, or has traveled, and has come full circle. Okay,
gentlemen,
and therefore can no longer boast
I think we need
of being morally
sorry, DP, I think we need to move on and tie this in, because if you have a death that is suspicious as Cheye's, you have, for the first time in the history of this country, a $1 million ransom demand that ends up in a murder. You have all these killings that have been going on, and security apparently appearing like it's clueless on what is going on. Yes, there have been some rumors that some arrests have been made in relation to the murder of Susan Magara. Police paraded some arrests in relation to the murder of young women in Entebbe and Nansana, plus all these things that have been going on. President Yoweri Museveni has announced changes. Waf, what do those changes mean to you?
Nothing. They
How do
mean
you mean?
nothing. Totally nothing. Because we are having a system which is Museveni system. It's an individual system. It's a dictator system. So it doesn't matter whom they appoint. They can appoint Pulkol back, Wafula, Unapito, we can go and nothing will change. Because we got to serve the master, we got to serve the system, which is about protecting an individual in power. You see, the system of Museveni is not that it's not for development of Uganda. It is for him to stay in power, to develop Uganda, not to develop Uganda so that he can stay in power out of love for people. I mean, people love him. So these changes to me doesn't mean anything at all. We have had the whole changes, by the way. Parliament is 80% new. Cabinet might be 60-70% new. So what? It is the same thing. As long as Museveni is there, whomsoever he puts there must do what he likes. And he has broken all the systems. All the institutions have been broken down. They don't work. He jumps in an institution, goes to a junior person, jumping in the middle, who are supposed to report to him. Therefore, the thing is malfunctioning. The system is malfunctioning. It is for him and for him alone. So these changes to me don't matter at all.
Were you surprised? They may not matter.
I knew that Kayihura was leaving. Actually, I was posting it even on social media about a month ago. I knew Kayihura would go. Because Kayihura, first that fight between him and Tumukunde was unhealthy for security people. An IGP fighting a minister of security, in which in the world does it happen? That a head of police, a disciplined force, fights a minister of security? Who is this boss?
But you're not surprised. These are long disagreements that existed.
No, but then that shows the brokenness of the system. When there's order, there's order. You can't have a head of a security or a police fighting a minister. It doesn't happen like that. So I wasn't surprised it was going to happen, but Kayihura had over time built a lot of clout around himself. He built a system for himself, set up, one time he told us he had 11 million crime preventers. He has put up the Kitatas of this world. He has recruited the police force and paired it with his ethnic group who are scattered all over the whole place. So you put Okoth there to do what? Will Okoth manage to change those people who are already DPCs, who are not even well trained, who are not even, they are not a proper force? Nothing will happen. So I think that, and then the Kayihura, of course, was associated a lot with the rigging elections in 2016, that house in Naguru. So if I were in the world, kingmakers are never allowed to survive. If you are saying somebody is sitting in his chair and he knows, oh, David Pulkol was responsible for me sitting in this chair, you don't like people like that around. You have to get rid of them.
Let me jump quickly to Honor. Any surprises for you that these changes are being made and being made now?
Of course, I think it will always change something. I think in the last show, I sort of demanded that in any normal jurisdiction, this what should have happened. And well, it has happened a week later.
So you advised the president from this show that he should make the changes.
I hope he watched the show and he said that guy used to know him. Maybe he said some sense today. So I was saying that it had become untenable. And really, even with all the inefficiencies Waf is alluding to, if the leadership is completely has lost sense of direction, there is no way the ordinary foot soldiers in the police force will be able to do anything. So I think, again, you must give the president credit that when everyone thinks he has lost it, or he has lost control, he shows that he's still in control. I guess that's the difference between many other leaders who have lost power, that he still has that ability to arrest the situation when people feel he should. And of course, the funniest thing almost for Kayihura is that I use the analogy of someone who knows it's going to rain. You see lightning, you hear thunder, and then you wait to get wet. No, as a young man looking after cattle, I would never do that. You know it's going to rain, you must take off and go home, it is going to rain. He should have known that it was going to rain on him. So if he's now feeling sorry for himself, he's only to blame. Any normal person should have walked out of...
Someone would ask a quick question. Would ask a quick question.
Yeah.
Is it game over for General Kayihura? Is it game over for
We have seen people rise from ashes. It's possible it's not game over for him. A lot of people, I mean, Tumukunde himself at some point was in prison, but then he became all-powerful. So it's not, with President Museveni, it's never a game over for anyone. It depends on how he handles himself. If he goes out and says he's now in opposition, like some people have done, then
DP, I wanted to come. DP, I wanted to come to you after listening to the two gentlemen. Waf described you as a friend of Tumukunde.
Yes.
Did you see this coming? Did he see this coming? He made some very strong statements in Rukunjiri.
Not only Rukunjiri, even at the burial of that lady, he owned up. He apologized on behalf of the state.
Who, Magara?
In Bunyoro.
Yes.
Okay, so for me, he said the right thing. Because when a situation like this happens, and you are top of you are the coordinator of intelligence and security agencies, so where did we get it wrong? Where did we get it right? What is being done now? You must instill hope on the citizens. And like anybody, as a trained military officer, I would expect him to try to reach out, to win the hearts and minds of people, because people in Bunyoro are really mad over this. Not only Bunyoro, many parts of the country. This gruesome death of this girl has ignited something against government. I think government is losing it. So now if you are head of security, even if you are Kayihura or what, even if you are now or Chola or you are Tumine, and you don't reach out, you are not seen to reach out to the population, try to give citizens hope, try even to own up as a government, particularly where your president was involved in telephone conversations with the family, where some security agencies were or required the family to embed them in the negotiations, and it was clumsily done and then resulted in this. So certainly, even if I was Tumukunde, I would have definitely, first of all, owned the situation as a government, on behalf of government, that branches of government that is given money to solve, to prevent things like this. Mistakes happen and mishaps happen. When they happen, you need to apologize to citizens and create a new situation for cooperation. And he did that. He asked citizens that, please, about security, it starts with us, with each of you, and we need to work together. Now, if you don't create that,
let me just ask a quick question there. Let me just ask a quick question there.
Even reaching out to Besije should be seen in that context. In Rukunjiri, where NRM lost.
People are going to interpret this two ways. They're going to say, one,
NRM lost here in Kampala, even in the Entebbe, where Wakiso, where State House is. So the next time again, another Rukunjiri. So if you are in that constituency and you're a government, you're head of security, don't you establish a rapport that the government, the security agencies need to work together with the people?
But isn't
so
that,
if it's being penalized for it,
isn't that the irony, David? Isn't that the irony that he failed to correctly read what his boss was thinking? Because if you think that you've had a major mishap as a representative, as a key official of the state and a coordinator of security, something has gone wrong. You know that your boss is unhappy, the public is unhappy. For many people, the decent thing to do would be to resign.
Yes.
For Henry Tumukunde, some people are going to read this and say, he read the signs by making those comments, especially the ones about Kizza Besigye and Rukunjiri. He was announcing that I am out of this thing. Some people are going to say, why then did you allow Museveni to pull the rug from under your feet?
But the challenge is, even when I was, I told the president that I wasn't going to renew my contract in external security.
But you still waited for him to fire you?
Now, the colleagues tell you that you don't resign on Museveni. He will take personally on you. Now, mine then was, I had a discussion with him. He knew why I spoke in the PAFO workshop about the third term, why I talked about these ugly-looking cops, about putting water cannons on the students in Lumumba Hall, just discussing that term with Agra Awori.
Yes.
And later on, you bring Agra Awori to be a minister.
Yes.
I mean, who had made these laws about citizens who had come from Hoima to demand why their road to Busunju had stopped where the tamaking of Hoima Road. I was saying, and then they come to speak with Nansasira and you tear gas them. I was saying, but which government made these laws? That citizens cannot engage a minister, that they must be met. So I was saying that these actions, including Museveni, if you say he's going to retire in 2006, and when the time is coming, then you start insulting people. After all, your child failed PLE. What does that have to do with the appointment we made? Now, let me come back on this. Yes. Let me come back on this. And what he had to do, like for my case, I had to throw a spanner in the works. Okay? As a sitting Director General for External Security. I had reached the end of my contract, and I was not ready to stay. And then deep into November, he doesn't want to let me go. So I had to speak my mind. And then I had a chance to speak with him. Then he transferred me to Foreign Affairs. And Foreign Affairs, in a dignified manner, I went. So when time came to post me out to London, I said, no, thank you, I'm not available. Okay? That's what I did for myself. Now, for Tumukunde, it's possible that he could have known that as Kayihura gets sorted out, there's no way the president can leave him there, because you have to sort both of them, because both of them have constituencies within government, within outside government. And therefore, nobody should be seen to have won in this kind of, the president can repost them in different places later on. But in this case, but for me, I was looking at, if I was put myself in the shoes of Tumukunde, in the situation, the security situation is in the country at the moment, unless government really reaches out and engages citizens and win the hearts and minds of citizens, the government has lost it.
Don't you think by
government has lost it? Because, and that's why I think the president needs to contemplate more, even to reach out to moderate opposition, for example, like WAP, or those in the church, those in the clergy, those in civil society, and reshuffle.
Are you giving the impression that this crime is being perpetuated by political opponents of the president?
Not necessarily.
So by reaching out to them, you solve the problem?
No, what I'm saying is that you need to unite criminals. You need to unite. Listen, how can 28 women be murdered?
There are more than 28.
More now. How can things that are happening in this country happen, and Paka tomorrow, and you have LC ones, you have PISOs, you have GISOs, you have DISOs, you have RISOs, you have DPCs, you have, you have IOs in the army barracks, and yet they are not detected. And people are arraigned in court, and they come and say, actually, I was told to take money and accept and implicate this man. So I implicated the one who struggles against a wife, a girlfriend, together with me. So judge, these people are innocent. I'm in court. So clerics are killed. And up to now you don't get, Kawes is killed. Up to now you don't get, and the other lady, the judge, the justice lady, is killed. And so for all this, and yet up to now you don't get to the bottom of the who did it. When you have all this structure of the security, including 11 million security, unless the government wins the hearts and minds of people, this is the point I'm saying, as part of civil-military cooperation. So how do you do that?
No, but
I can give you how to do it.
David, you create some contradiction there. You're presenting a huge structure of intelligence and security,
which has become ineffective,
dysfunctional. Which has become dysfunctional. And then you're saying you still need to win the hearts and minds of the people.
No, to do this, to fix that problem.
How does it fit in?
To fix this problem. Okay, go ahead.
You see, what we have done over a period of time, including people like you, to assist Museveni, we have built a patrimonial society. Everybody, it's to do with money. There's so much money, crazy for money in our country. And the big people steal, the small people steal, learn from the big people. Everybody is looking for money. Some of these killings are for money. You are talking about $1 million ransom. It's about money.
Yes, 200,000 was paid.
Everybody is looking for money. Now they have gone to foreigners. They have been conning them. Now they are conning them maybe and killing them. So this killing is to do with a broken down system where the one who would be being exemplary and punishing and holding people accountable is also part of the problem. Money, money, money. And that's where I see the problem. So you go to citizens. The citizens actually have also seen these big people always are looking for money. You also, when you go, you're a politician, you go to the village, they're also looking for money from you. So, under the same system, no, you do something. You do something.
How do you get citizens to cooperate?
You do something.
Because these things happen.
The government, this government, on its own, cannot bring anybody and superintend the reformation. It can't. Or transformation. It can't.
Let me cut
What
in.
Waf is saying,
Let me cut in for a moment.
It's too deformed to be reformed.
It can't be.
I think that's what Waf is saying.
Yeah.
Let me cut in for a moment.
Yeah.
What is the bigger problem? Is it the money or the politics?
Both.
Because
the politics has been commercialized.
The politics has also become stupid.
Yes.
just a minute. Let me
the
explain
economy has gone stupid.
Yeah.
Let me explain my question.
Yeah.
The fight between Tumukunde and Kayihura has little to do with money.
No, don't say that.
No, it has
Kayihura
something.
took most of the security
Yes,
money.
it has operation funds behind it.
ISO was almost dead, and ISO they had
Can I
no
explain?
money.
Can I put this in perspective?
Yeah.
Yes, there is the fight over operation funds, but the disagreement, from what you know, you're a very senior journalist, worked with government for many years. He's a very senior journalist. We know that the disagreement between Kayihura and Tumukunde started years ago. It's possibly 10 years old, 10, 20, 30 years old.
I think, Charles, you are not
Is
right
it
there.
personal?
I think it's not personal.
But Charles,
I
for
think
me,
it's just the systems. And actually, this fight, if you look it deeply, has also got geopolitics in the region.
Charles,
Yes,
I
it's
wanted
fight,
then, okay, the removal of the two principals
Yes, the
is
two
at the
generals.
height of bitterness in the country about crime. So where do we go from here? And I guess we have to work with what we have. My belief is that the crisis the president faces, and it's a legitimate crisis on his part. Since the Arab Spring, there was a massive shift, in especially the police, to state protection. Because we saw the Arab Spring sweep away the states in Egypt, in Tunisia, in Libya. And he had to shift the police in Uganda largely to state protection.
State protection or regime protection? I'm told those are two different
No, for me, I
things.
believe it's state
Actually,
protection.
president protection, not
Okay,
the state.
I'm told those are two different.
my
The state
words.
is not in the danger at all.
Of course, the state is the president and others. They can be removed.
No.
So, the traditional role of the police, law and order, that is protection of property and person, I think lost shape. And he has a chance now, even with the new appointments, in my view, to allow a two-in-one police system. It's within his rights to make sure that the police element of cracking skulls, if necessary, is there.
But Ona,
Just hold
let
on.
me ask you.
No, let me make my point.
Yes.
But then, especially the IGP, the old police structure of investigating crime, which is about money, people want to get another person's money, another person's land, and killing them, should also be there. But I think where the crisis arises, if there is still effort to try and fuse the two, it is very difficult for people to concentrate on trying to protect, call it the regime, and also trying to protect property and person.
A question to you, Ona. The system we have is the state is fused into the president. The party is fused in the president. The president is the government. Where have you seen, where have you seen after 33 years, a system like that it can reform itself?
Okay.
In Uganda,
Where have you seen
I'm
it?
not talking of reforming.
Can we pick
I'm not
this?
talking of reforming. I'm talking of...
Ona, can we pick this debate up after a very short commercial break? And we'll also be asking, apart from your question, Waf, we'll be asking the question, which was sent to me by Gaki Kigambo. He said, can police be both a civilian and political force?
That's what I'm asking. That's what
Can
I'm
it be?
advocating.
Because you have a career policeman who's been now appointed, I think from retirement, Okoth Ochola, to head the police.
He was on a contract.
He's on contract.
Yeah.
He's deputized by a former commander at the Special Forces Command.
And then military
Deputy.
police.
Yes,
It was
it was deputy. Yeah, well, if you're a deputy, you're a commander.
Yes.
At the Special Forces Command, and now he's been head of the military police.
Yes.
Brigadier Sabiti Mutengesa.
Yes.
And what does Eli Tumwine take to the Ministry of Security? After a short commercial break. You're still watching The Fourth Estate, and welcome to this last segment featuring Wafula Ogutu, David Purkol, and Onapito Ekomoloit. We're discussing security and the changes that have happened, which were announced this evening, removing General Kayihura from the head of the police. He still had 2 years on his contract. His contract was still running until 2020, I think, around 2020, who's been removed and replaced by Okoth Ochola. And the deputy chief of police has also been replaced by, has also been removed. Actually, that's not coming out. It's not in the statement that's set out. Ochola was deputy, so he's been moved up. Sorry. He's been moved up, and Okoth Ochola has been replaced as by Brigadier Sabiti Muzei, who once served in Special Forces Command, and his current posting is at the military police. Also replaced is Brigadier, I keep calling him Brigadier, Henry Tumukunde, who's been Minister for Security for a very short time, actually. He's been replaced by General Eli Tumwine. David, let me start with you.
On a light note, the new deputy head of police will now be confusing some people. Which Muzei is in charge of the police now?
I think it's good you give his real name. Because I also Muzei.
It's Sabiti.
No, he's called Sabiti Muzei.
That's his real name.
That's his real name.
Brought the other Mutengeka something.
No. It is Sabiti
No,
Muzei.
he put him Mutengesa. It's not Mutengesa.
No, it's Brigadier
Just
Sabiti
Sabiti.
Muzei.
Yeah, Mzee Sabiti. Yeah.
Yes.
Now,
Our phone line is open, so we'll be taking some phone calls.
My take is this,
Yes.
that one, the country is grappling with 3 C's. One is crime is on the rise, an unexplained crime. And citizens are becoming jittery. Is government losing control or what? I think the president is trying to respond to it. The second C is corruption, which has hit the roof long time ago, and which is responsible for diversion of many amounts of monies and so forth. And some of the people even you are bringing into these are also tainted with corruption. I can speak to. Then the third C is having a constitution without constitutionalism. Okay, so that it is at pleasure, at ease, and at the manipulation of anybody. So with these 3 C's, the country is sitting on very unhealthy, very uncomforting situation as a country. If it goes this way, when you plot on a graph, if this is to go on, then I can see government losing out at some point. I can see citizens detaching themselves or losing confidence. Now, any reshuffle, like it has taken now, needs to factor this into consideration. Yes, Ochola is a lawyer. He has grown through the ranks of the police and therefore knows policing and the type of the institution, what a police in a democracy works and does. But if he's brought there to reform, and maybe you need to back it up with a commission of inquiry, and then the restructuring of the force and remodeling it, if he's given that latitude, then we should have a hope. Because there are a number of things in the Tumukunde Commission report which were not implemented. Very fatal. Even the Commonwealth...
The Tumukunde Commission report recommended the promotion for Okoth Ochola.
So
it was one of those that
I hear you.
recommended.
But there are a number of things there which had a lot of implications if they were implemented. So including the Commonwealth investigations and so forth. I've read a number of reports around our police. The second, but if you bring Sabiti there as one, yes, a trained officer, very disciplined as far as I'm concerned.
A trained military officer, not a police officer.
A trained military officer, yes, very disciplined. He stays as his task, and he's quite, but also is a houseboy. He's a homeboy. Sorry to call him a houseboy. I mean, a houseboy means he has grown within the house, state house, and the family, and he's related, blood relatives.
You've been clever with your words.
You know,
yeah.
But you can also say he's houseboy who cleans here and cleans that mess that he's been taken there now to cleanse the mess and so forth. So which houseboys do anyway if there's stain. So, but I come back.
David,
I come back.
You use a lot of ifs. In your submission.
Now, let me come.
No, but you're talking about a system that you're very familiar with. You
Yes,
know.
yes.
So,
but I also know.
Let me put the question straight. Can Okoth Ochola, as current head of the police, reform it? Can Eli Tumwine, as new Minister for Security,
I'm coming to each of them now.
address the issues that you raised earlier?
I am raising conditions under which they can be able to do that task and do it very well. But if those conditions are not created, depending on who has reshuffled, what is he looking for? Is he looking for, but if it is about making the house look beautiful, there is this Istana there, from Tororo or wherever, and is the boss of the police, and the Easterners get excited and so forth, our boy. And then you have this one from the house, we might just said the nephew too, or who, where, and who will now be wielding a lot of power. How will the two strike a working relationship? Will this one undermine the boss? If you bring the Ochola just to fly the blue flag of the police, Commander 1 of the police, and then attend ceremonies, the president is going out of the country and is there in the airport, seeing him off, receiving him, just functions. And then you don't give him a latitude to reform the police, then we'll have lost it. Meaning, if it is window dressing, if it's just to make the house beautiful, but if it is to do a fundamental, like when I was taken to ESO, I had to sit fully on the chair, not sitting halfway. And then when I saw that over 80% was from one region, and which professions are here, I went back to the president and said, look, it smells bad. Okay, the constitution says these institutions must have a national character. And then I had to, with data, and then he allowed me to reform it and restructure it. Okay, but how many, there are those who fear even to do that, because now you are sitting with this young man as your deputy, he may have more latitude, and they do what they do without your knowledge as overall boss. There are moments like those even where they tried when I was in charge. Then I would go back, I sit like I don't know. Yet I'm actually collecting data. Then when I go to the president, I confront and say, are there any operations you have sanctioned in my organization where I'm the boss? Because the law about this organization is clear. It must be the DG who must, if you have to do anything, to be through the DG. Yes, he allowed me.
Is it better?
But at that time, of course, I left.
Yes.
But at least there are many things that we were able to avoid. Let me come back to Mine.
Before Waf comes
To Mine. Let me come back to this. That's about the police. It depends. Now, when you come back, like for example, there are no lines.
Just a moment. Let
in the police, people don't know their boundary. There's always those who come order from above. And I've just told you how I had to deal with order from above. And the President Museveni, once you confront him with facts, he allows you that latitude, because then the law and what, but if you don't, if you are the type who fears, hey, boy, he gives command to the law people, he gives command to this, but he expects those ones to let the boss to know. But Zambo says fear to the marrow. Okay. So in the police, the lines, so where does this one stop? Where does this one begin? Where does it must be respect? There should be nothing like order from above. Even if above orders you, it is you to report to the senior one.
Now when I come to Tumine, and then let me come to Tumine and other people.
For me, Tumukunde was a better person in that area than Eli Tumine, because I've taken over leadership of external security from Tumine. I know what I found. Mobutu is dead. Then you are writing also the intelligence. Mobutu is dead, even before he has died. You remember. And then that's the kind of intelligence. So I know him as a person who doesn't do homework. He doesn't do details. Doesn't go to details. And he's also tainted in Agoa Girls and that contract of, I don't know, Trista. And then supplying recently in the wealth creation, inflated figures or whichever, cows in what is it, in calf. And then you find many of them don't have, are not pregnant, so forth. So anyway, but he brings history into it, but he also doesn't do his homework. But nonetheless, I don't know whether he's savvy with technology now. But because when you see these abductions, it looks like people who are even tapping phones. When you talk to the president, they know you have talked to the president. When you have talked to so they know you have done this. What have they said now? And so it looks like a very sophisticated gang. But whether Tumine is the right person for that, and then Tumine winning the hearts and minds of citizens, no, he's not the type.
Honor, you wanted to come in.
Look, overall, first of all, we shouldn't talk about President Museveni as if we have just met him today. We all know that the president values loyalty and it has served him, it has served the country. So one, the two people, you would say are in the top quartile of what you call all the president's men. Top quartile is 25%. You would find them there. So that gives them the right qualification, among other reasons. But when I look at the Uganda police as an outsider, where it is now, I don't think it's so much about reform. I think it's about what they would call command and control. And it is not so much that they need to go and change individuals in positions. But I think all stories have shown that people have operated in a lesser way, mixing with criminals and all. So if Kale was seen to be allowing that lack of command and control.
But
and
for
this-
political
no, look,
reasons.
and the new people
Well,
are
really
able
for
to
politics.
achieve that. So I believe the police can still be made to work without necessarily having overhaul of the police, as David tends to argue.
And on Tumwine taking over security?
No, I've already said, I think for him it's truly is a loyalist of the president, and the president also believes above everything you must have somebody whom you can trust.
Okay, loyalty
And
to the
whatever-
country,
look,
Yeah.
whatever
loyalty to the
information-
constitution, loyalty to the army,
No, but look,
loyalty to the
he has a
individual.
history-
Let's talk about loyalty. Let's
Yeah.
double click that loyalty.
Charles, I was going
Well,
to say,
that is your view,
I was-
No,
but
let's
for me I'm
double click.
giving you the facts.
I was going to say
Yeah, but
exactly.
what's the truth?
Can we listen to
Facts
her?
aside, what's the truth?
DP, can we listen to
I was
her?
going
Yes,
to say
sir.
what David was saying. And it's a mistake we make. We have made this since about one. Loyalty to the individual. That's why we end up with Amini's army, Museveni's army, Obote's army,
Museveni's
Obote's
police.
police. It is all wrong. The other day, I was listening to the news, international news, and the police in Israel are on
On Netanyahu, the prime minister.
Could that ever happen in Uganda? Because
But at the same
no,
time,
no.
Just to interject, since we are discussing, I don't think Yoweri Museveni is simply allowing someone to be loyal to them without also doing things that he believes make them competent.
No, please let me make my point.
No, company doesn't
You
move.
see, let me
It's
make
a
my
Marxist
point.
loyalty.
Can you let
You
Waf
see,
make his
you are
point?
interested. What you are on is saying, Museveni is interested in the person who is going to be loyal to him. Okay, loyal to him to do his work.
No, but to
But-
be
but-
loyal,
but
you
we
must
have-
also be
like-
able to do certain things.
No, they don't do. They don't do. We have people who are loyal, policemen who are loyal to the president, DPs who cannot write a statement from a witness, meaning from somebody who a witness. So this
From a
is
suspect.
all across.
Like
A suspect. They can't write statement because they never trained for that. You train for 3 years and you become a DPC. So that is loyalty. So I think there's total confusion about a state, which is Uganda, and a government, which is part of the state.
So
Usually
where
there's
is your
that
loyalty?
confusion.
Yeah.
Loyalty must be to the state of Uganda, to the sovereignty of Uganda, not to a full the
to the
president
people of
or to the prime minister. No, don't do that.
Waf,
Yes.
Honor put a disclaimer.
Yeah.
He said we shouldn't discuss President Museveni as if we don't know him. We have known him for more than 30 years.
And that's why we
he
have-
values, no. If I can't paraphrase his words, he said he values loyalty above anything else.
Any manager wants loyalty.
Yes.
But you have to be a manager of a company. Should people be loyal to you, the person,
What
or
Onan
loyal
needs
to
to
you?
qualify.
No,
as
but
a-
so, but
as a
I
company?
think,
Onan needs to qualify.
according to you,
Loyalty to who?
Yes, according to you, Eli Tumwine is not loyal to the
Is-
country, but to President Museveni, he has worked with him. He fired the first bullet in their war, so he considers him
To
loyal
the country,
country.
that's
It brings
nonsense. To
history.
the country, that's
Just-
nonsense.
Just hold a moment.
Yeah.
There is a meeting point between Purkol and Honor on the loyalty and what they
Yes.
think is the biggest qualification of General Eli Tumwine. Other people might have different opinions. What's your own opinion of the appointment of Eli Tumwine to replace Tumukunde at security, at the minister?
No, you see, I don't think that Eli should be replacing Tumukunde anyway, as far as I'm concerned.
What do you think?
First, I told you from the beginning that
is
to
a
me,
Kakuyegis.
to
So
me,
mobilize
I
them.
told you it doesn't matter. We can put anybody; it will be the same. So, and Ona is a perfect student of Museveni. So he says what the man wants is somebody loyal, and Museveni has said that himself, the president, that it doesn't matter. Like for instance, MPs, bring me anybody as long as he can come and vote. Loyalty, vote for me. Whether he voting what he doesn't, what he knows, it doesn't matter to him. So I think that you can have Eli Tumwine, you can have, like I said earlier, David can go back. They can even also give me, and I go. Nothing
But
will
also
change.
now, remember,
Gentlemen,
a new culture has also emerged in the country, where many people believe, because of the experience they have seen, that for the president to listen to you, or for you to give information to reach the president, there are people whom you must talk to because they talk to the president. Eli Tumwine fits that bill. So
But
if people
there
want to
should be
give information to the
systems.
president,
There should be systems.
through security.
That's patrimony. There should be systems which are set institutional.
I'm discussing the Uganda we
Now,
live in.
gentlemen,
the raw
gentlemen,
information,
Gentlemen,
if the raw
I'm
information-
keen, hold it, gentlemen. I'm keen to open the line. The lines have been open and people have been calling. I'm keen to bring in feedback from our viewers because they could add some valuable information.
sure.
A quick question to all of you, starting with Waf. What happens to Kayihura next?
Kayihura is not yet over. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised tomorrow when I hear he's headed to New York as ambassador. I wouldn't be surprised. Or that he actually is appointed minister for labor or something. I wouldn't be surprised.
Thank you.
Yeah.
DP? And Tumukunde, just before I leave?
The same.
The same.
The same. But I don't think they are going to work now together. Now they will be separated. One will go to Argentina and one will go to Moscow.
DP?
The president just had to do this in order to be seen to respond to citizens' concerns and this bickering and so forth. But they are still his loyalists. And therefore, whether indirectly or directly, they will be appointed something. And maybe they haven't been talked to before this reshuffle took place. And therefore, it's not over. But the point I'm making here is that for citizens, don't be hoodwinked and say, hooray, it's fine, and we clap, okay? That's why I'm putting those if. It's a good thing, let's welcome these changes. And let us, in welcoming the changes, rather than Wafu dismisses completely, and say useless, I am reserving that, and giving the benefit of doubt.
Musical chairs.
I listen to you. But if there are no other reforms in the military, in cabinet, in different departments, because to employ eight different elements of power. There are eight different.
In short,
it won't
you have faith and hope that other changes can happen that will actually lead to the reformation.
That might reinforce.
To deal with the 3 C's you talked about?
And yes, and create conditions for reversal of what the country is suffering from. But if not, I'm sorry, it will count to a not.
What's Kayihura's fate now and Tumukunde's fate? Tumukunde's fate.
For long, General Kayihura has been President Museveni's military assistant. And I think even as IGP, that's really the mode in which he
became, besides that, he became a political commissar.
So I think he will continue being the president's assistant.
11 million votes.
Of course, President Museveni is not fool. He knows that for the long tenure Kayihura has been in police, for his creating of the crime preventers, for his touching with the political base. He remains somebody who is potentially dangerous if he's not on the inside. So he will remain
but
on the
there's a point I want to say, Charles.
And I think he's also made a lot of money.
Yes, one simple point.
And he knows so much. You can't leave such people out.
One thing which you haven't focused on and we don't focus on is what we are having, these changes are just musical chairs. But the creeping coup which has been going on in this country for the last 7 years, a coup, military coup, where the military is taking space of the civilian every day. Right now as we talk, the police is being manned before Mosaic came. The police the policing of the country is under the military.
But again,
that is creeping.
I disagree with the argument and almost pit it because I don't think, just hold on.
When even cultural institutions are taken over
people tend to forget that President Museveni came to this town through military force, and they tend to imagine that anything changed. For me, I don't
be surprised if any archbishop.
I don't think anything. I think this has always
maybe then you are right there. You are right there.
No,
this has always been
different. Okay, gentlemen, just hold it. Let me take some feedback from our viewers. Hold it. Margaret Baguma is watching us and says, "I am happy for General Kayihura. At least he can have some time to rest and relax.
Reflect.
A blessing in disguise." And it says, Ugandans, we are not easy people, very tough people. David in Kisasi says, Uganda police under General Kayihura has been working with a certain tempo based on the needs that haven't changed. They have even worsened. Are we getting new templates? I think the other one was supposed to be template. For the new team or just new faces? Same tempo? Remember that there was jubilation when Kale was brought in. in 2005. This is Nicholas Sengoba. What do these gentlemen think will be the fate of the likes of SSP Muhammad Chirumira and his Rolex case now that Kayihura is out?
Rolex.
Yes, he was charged among the offenses.
He ate
somebody's Rolex and never paid for it.
It's frivolous.
Joshua is watching us from Ishaka and he says, this is a mere change of guard. KK and Tumukunde are just individuals operating in dead institutions. Okoth is a mere proxy. The real IGP is Sabiti, who has a military background. The institution of police needs career police officers. Militarization of everything, standard gauge railway, operation wealth creation, police, health, etc. is dangerous for this country. That's Joshua in Ishaka. There is a listener here. Let me see a few other messages that I will take this evening. And I will also pick, I'm going to pick that phone. Why do you turn to your phone whenever owner is submitting? It doesn't look good. Okay, thank you very much for the feedback. Brigadier Sabiti is a very disciplined officer. He will work well with his new boss. He will focus on intelligence and public order management, while the new IGP will focus on traditional roles of police. I think Uganda Police is sorted. Minister of Defense, Minister of Security, Minister of Defense, Minister of Internal Affairs, where do you draw a line in terms of mandate? Add CMI, ISO, JAT, DMI, etc. That is a message from Apollo. Apollo is the one asking that question. I have a message here from Semanda Alawi. Semanda Alawi says, thanks for the show. General Kayihura's sacking was too long overdue. Like a sleeping frog enjoying steam bath, the general enjoyed politics and slept on duty as Ugandans faced untold terror. For General Tumwine, to me, he is a perfect replacement. Can I pick some calls? Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir. Your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Edward from Gayaza.
Yes, Edward, keep your question or comment brief, please.
Now, I'm very happy with the Afande Sabiti Muzei. I happened to meet him once, and actually the president is spot on. Much of the violent crime will be done by Sabiti Muzei. But as regards the Afande Ochola, that one is actually approaching retirement, and is just going to be a face of handling the civilian petty cases. And secondly, I am also very happy with the Afande Tumwine, because these are guys who are going to strategically map out on how to deal with the violent crime. I think the president is spot on appointing these cadres. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Edward. We have another caller. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hello? Yes, sir?
Yes, good evening, Charles.
Good evening, sir. Your name and where are you calling from?
Charles Luanga from Munyonyi.
Yes, Charles. Keep it very brief, please.
Yeah, I want to salute the work done by General Kayihura. He found police was rotten. They were selling marua in barracks. They were inefficient. But his time in police, he did a lot of things. So I salute General Kayihura for his work and wish him well.
Thank you.
And too, for the posting of General Tumwine as the Minister of Security, it is good. He has a rich experience in security and management, and is a loyal person. So I salute our fountain of honor for the changes.
Thank you very much, Charles.
Sabit is a good officer. I salute him too.
Thank you. We have another caller. We'll take one more and come back to studio and close this discussion. Do you have a caller? Hello?
Hello.
Yes, sir?
Yes. Hello.
Yes. Your name, sir, and where are you calling from?
Brian, I'm calling from Masaka.
Yes, Brian. Keep it brief.
Yeah, I think let's give Sabiti a chance. And I think we'll call him a comedian. And on the people, please keep it up. He really very articulate in everything that you do. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. I think we need to come back to studio and we need to come back to studio and wind this show up. I have a few messages, text messages here that I need to. Oh, there are many. There are many. Oh my goodness. Okay, let me see what I can take. Moses Kisa is watching us. He says, very curious appointment of General Tumukunde, but the police has been battered beyond repair. Not anytime soon, and not by the current IGP, for them to be able to recover effectively. Charles Ongole of Kumi says, Museveni values not loyalty, but subservience. He is a servile user of people for own power retention. Charles Ongole caps his, the words he wants to emphasize, regardless of who one is. Where are his closest aides, if not sacrificed on the altar of power, regardless of perceived loyalty? The man is a slave driver. Charles Ongole of Kumi. Another, Professor J.J. Baria says, the issue is not the individuals, but the systems. I agree with Wafula. We must change Musevenism and the entire militaristic system. The changes are cosmetic and propagandist. Another, someone here says, Charles, the most important thing to learn from the Kale and Tumukunde's tenure of office about state management is that the young people are not ready to take over and can't be trusted with power. Another viewer here says, okay, I think I took that message already. Another viewer here says, the criminal gang which was created in 2011 to protect the regime was divided in police and the army is causing this problem. There's Moses in Mbarara. And Frank Tumusime says, Museveni is juggling pieces on a chessboard. Nothing will change. I concur with Honorable Wafula. That all are fused to him. Like a good chess player, he is withdrawing big pieces only to come back strong. Frank Tumusime. Someone, yes, Professor Philip Kasaija says, Brigadier Sabiti Muzei, not Mutengesa. The latter is a major and in exile in the United Kingdom. Thank you for the correction. I actually remembered that Mutengesa has been in exile in the UK for some time. Thank you, Professor. And Amanzuru Leslie Williams says, unless Ugandans understand that security as public commodity is only kitchened around Museveni and his family, there is nothing in sight. Ugandans will get a security. We are in the jungles of lawlessness, bisecting effects that causes of insecurity. This is a doom state. Leslie has no faith at all in where we are. Gentlemen, we need to come back to studio and wrap this up, and I'll start with you, Waf, to wrap this up. Tomorrow we'll wake up and find a different kind of police. You said this is musical chairs.
It's musical chairs, Charles. It's just, and I think that those who are in charge of this country, Museveni and his group, they have been at it for 33 years. They should sit and reflect that where are they taking this country, or what kind do they want to leave behind, and what type of life they want to live for their siblings and their relatives and their friends. Because the way it is going, with a broken down system, if you don't fix it, it will blow in your face, and we shall end up in flames. So unless we go maybe like the Angola have done, or like the Moi did in Kenya, some reflection. But if we want to stay on with this system forever, till when somebody dies on the job, not just sleeping this time, but dying on the job, then we are in real serious, very deep problems in the future. DP, your last word on this.
My last word is that the country is divided, like you heard from the comments. There are those who are excited, happy about what the changes, and expecting good. But then there are those who don't expect much to change. And for me, I'm saying it depends on what is to follow, and whether these people who have been, like even Sabit is a good officer, if he's given a latitude to reconstruct the police, and if there's not much interference from order from above, then he can do a good job. But if it is just to bring them to turn the wheel to the same direction it's been turning all along, nothing will change. And if Ochola becomes timid and sits on the chair halfway and doesn't assert himself, and then we have also lost it. Now, coming to Tumine, and I'm saying citizens in the area of security are so critical that unless you reach and win the hearts and minds of citizens, you've lost it. So our country now, the government is so deformed currently, it is in bad need of reform. But of course, WAF says it is too deformed to be reformed. And I'm saying that it hasn't reached yet that tipping point. It's moving there. And if it reaches there, it will be no return, because our vehicle is not known to have good brake pads. They are worn out. It's not like Kenya, where they know how to apply brakes.
David, you can
So I'm just saying that what the president needs to do, like for example, even if the police is maintaining law and order, it must be law first, then order second. But where you have a current system where military, including military police, are bringing suspects to keep them in police cells, okay? And then they are kept there for one month before they appear in court, you know, and violating all rules. This order from above. Everybody is saying order from above. This is above. That's why WAF is saying that above must be sorted out.
Thank you.
But mine is to say that above needs to change and needs to be more genuine if he wants to save the country. But if he remains on just using people and whitewashing the house, you know, what I call beautifying the house, tokenism, then he has lost it.
Thank you. Honor.
Well, for me, I hope Brigadier Sabiti and Okoto Chola are watching the show and they really listen.
I know they are. I know they are.
Because what worries me also from the caller's tone, and you hear this really amongst Ugandans, is the informalization of the security system, mostly the police. It's not so much with the army. I think there's need for some detachment, contrary to almost what David is arguing, by the security apparatus from this too much being with the people. I'm not particularly excited when one says, I found this one, these are funded things should even be abolished, because it has been bastardized. Everyone is calling a police officer funded. So there's need for some distance. Patronizing, there's need for distance between the police and the people they are protecting. Because how do you protect people when they are so close to them? I'm not talking physical, but in the mindset. The police need the police need to regain that sense of, you go to a police station. A police station is not different from a marketplace. All kinds of people are getting in and out of police. You go to.
I thought that's how you build the people's police. Where people are not afraid of the
this
officers.
Community policing, the people's police, I'm saying, has been taken too far.
Thank you.
And it has not given the police the necessary distance to look at who is a criminal and who is not a criminal.
Thank you very much. Our time is out. We need to get out of here. Thank you very much, Wilson Kazwenje, a member of the Diary of Intellectuals. He's correcting me on my the mistake, the name.
Okay.
Yes, I needed to read his whole message. Yes, he says this Sabiti is not Mutengesa. Brigadier General Stephen Sabiti Muzei Majenyi is the one who has been who's been appointed. Andrew Rumba and Alexis, thank you for your messages. Andrew is mourning the death of Cheye. I've received your message, and Alexis, I'm not able to take all the messages that I have this evening, and apologies to the callers who are trying to get through. I can hear the phone is still ringing. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very much, WAF, for making time for the show. Wafula Ogutu is a former member of parliament, former leader of opposition, founder of the Monitor Publications, one of the most senior journalists we have, and now he is a member of the Forum for Democratic Change.
And he's retired.
And retired.
And retired.
Not tired.
Huh?
But not tired.
Not tired. David Purkol, that's for him. David Purkol is a former ESO director, former minister, and former member of parliament. You represented Matheniko?
Yeah, but also I've been a deputy regional director for UNICEF for East and Southern Africa. Yeah, yes. Whether the Horn, the Great Lakes, or the Southern.
And you also sometimes run the parliament squad.
This man needs to integrity of Matheniko. Matheniko are the bulls. They are not just...
And thank you very much. Bonapito Ekomoloit, Corporate and Legal Affairs Director of Nairobi's AB InBev. Thank you very much to you all our viewers for joining us tonight, and always, and especially those who gave us feedback, and each one who watches the show. The debate continues. The discussion about the changes, the reshuffle for insecurity leadership continues, as does the discussion about the security situation in the country on our social media platform and subsequent news bulletins on NTV, and of course in the Daily Monitor. Just to alert you to the, a major meeting in Kampala that happened at the end of the week on AMISOM, which the East African is covering in fairly deep, good detail, which way there's a disagreement between the troop contributing countries and those who are funding, the donors. The donors want a drawdown in troops. The countries that are contributing troops, especially Uganda and Kenya, think the situation in Somalia can only be redeemed if you actually do a troop surge. Yes, you scale up the troop presence, but you can find the details. And of course, the Daily Monitor tomorrow will be running that exclusive panorama on the sand mining, the dispute in the sand mining. So if you've missed the show, you've missed the show on NTV, read it in the Monitor newspaper tomorrow, which I think it's already been printed. From me, it's a good night.